I'm so excited to be hosting this quantum alignment show. I wanted to first start with speaking about my experience with human design. I recently, actually within 1 year, started my human design journey. And when I first started, I was living really off my design, and I burnt out. And it wasn't until January when Karen had a program. I think it was something to do with abundance, but she was so generous to offer it at a discounted price, if that's where we were at. And that's when I absolutely fell in love with human design and Karen's program. So when I first fell in love with it was in January, and I got my first human design book, which was the Human Design Evolution Guide. And this has been my Bible this entire year. And this is where today's program came from. And so I'm going to share my screen now through daily habits, pushing through the fears, and authentic self-expression. And so I came up with the title of this by literally going through the next 6 weeks of what we were going to be experiencing in the solar transit. And because Karen has such beautiful language that she uses with each of the gates, I was able to come up with a beautiful title that was very logical and yet very beautiful. So we're starting actually in the gate of embodiment, and we're finishing in the gate of purpose in these next 6 weeks. So I'm going to explain a little bit about myself. So like I said, my name is Tammy Mack. I'm an energetic alignment mentor. And recently, within the last year, discovered that I was a projector. I was a projector working as a manifesting generator. So you can kind of start to see how I would get burnt out. I'm 42 years old, so I'm not a spring chicken, and I was working in a field which was absolutely beautiful and supporting. However, it wasn't necessarily correct to my design as a projector and my energy type. I just didn't have that sacral consistency to do all the things that I love to do. So the things that I love to do are very active. They're very embodiment. So as you can see here, this is me as carried in a long-term care facility where I worked. But I'm also a single mother to the most wonderful child in the world, my 14-year-old teenager. I'm also a runner. I used to run a lot of Spartan races and Tough Mudders and half marathon distances. And this is where, was part of the burnout, was this pushing all the time. I also really enjoy adventures, and I love traveling. And my summer passion, of course, will always be in the water on my paddleboard. So if you see with my chart here, I am a projector, and you can see all the openness in the chart where I take in energy and amplify it back out. In fact, if it wasn't for this one channel right here, I'd be telling a very different story as a reflector. So another thing that I do is that I coach something called the Whole Life Challenge. And this is kind of part of where my program came from, was that it talks about 6 weeks and 7 habits, 7 daily habits that you follow in these 6 weeks that evolve and transform yourself to a new you. So it's called the Whole Life Challenge, 6 weeks, 7 habits, new you. And I found that it was so perfect that they were aligned together with the solar transit. So before we start with the solar transit, I wanted to talk about Mars. And so Mars right now is in retrograde. And I'm not an astrologer. I really have just a basic understanding about astrology, but I am learning. And the one thing that I learned is that Mars is in retrograde between September 9th and November 13th. So when Mars is direct, Mars has a strong masculine energy of war, passion, aggression. I just need to move this out of the way, and action, right? So it's all about outward projection of a very strong energy. But every 2.5 years, Mars goes retrograde. And when Mars goes retrograde, we have the attributes of perhaps inner conflict as opposed to war. We have passive aggressiveness. We have, instead of pushing out, we work on our inner contemplation and who we are. And we really practice a lot of self-love and self-care instead of action. So it's more of an inward journey of going into ourselves during this Mars retrograde. And so the 6 weeks fall in this Mars retrograde. So for me, energetic alignment, what that means. It means that we start with a healthy mindset and embodiment of values. What is important to you? And how can you live those values every day intentionally? We do that by taking care of our bodies so we can have sustainable energy to attract more of what we want. If we want more and we want to receive more, we have to be sure that A, we have the space to receive it, we have the openness and the flow of receiving, and that our body can withstand the energy that it's going to take in order to follow through on the actions that we want to take in order to get what we want. So we have to make sure that we have that energetic alignment and that we have that embodiment, and we're structurally sound enough to deliberately create our lives. And we do this through intentions. So and the other part I want to say is bringing awareness to our fears and moving through them with courage so that we can reach new, higher levels of potential. In these 6 weeks, we're going to start in the G center. We're going to start in the gate of embodiment. This week, we are in the sacral energy of the gate 6. So today, I'm here to make an impact. But next week, we move into the G center and the center of who we are, and the center of the gate 46, which is the gate of embodiment. And the gate of embodiment is all about how we express love through our body and how we love ourselves and our physical vessel. So it's the physical embodiment of love. It's being and experiencing in the body. We do this through sensual awareness by using all of our senses. So often we go through weeks without fully touching our entire body, right? We slap on some skin cream, we wash our hair, we do a quick shave. But when was the last time that you sensually, felt your arms and felt your ankles, right? We don't intentionally really go into our bodies as much as our bodies perhaps might like. The more attention and the more awareness and the more loving that we can give to our bodies is a practice of gratitude. We're so grateful for what our bodies can do. Another part of embodiment for me is supporting energetic alignment. It's not only knowing the structural of my body, but it's also understanding and having awareness of the energy of my body. How do I feel? How much energy do I have? I'm a big fan of meditation and going through my energy systems, going through my chakra systems in my body. And with awareness, you can become attuned to where you may be misaligned in your body. Do you feel the pressure of the root center or the head center? Do you understand that? Are you aware of it? Do you understand the fear? Are you aware of the fear that we're feeling in our body? And do you understand how you can transmute it, right? So this is the embodiment, is having the awareness in your body and supporting our body through devotion and commitment to daily habits. So if I was going to go back to the whole life challenge, for instance, the daily habits would be the nutrition, the food that we're taking in. Is it in alignment with our body? Are we intentionally eating and preparing our food? Are we just mindlessly snacking while we're doing other things? Movement, mobility, right? Exercise. Are you going for walks? Are you moving your body? Are you stretching your body? We have so much of energy and trauma locked in our joints. And so when we're able to move our body with awareness, we can let go of these physical things. Hydration is so important. Are you drinking enough? Are you getting enough in? Our brain can't fire and wire if it's dry. We need, our bodies to have a lot of water for us to move well, right? So our joints aren't so sore, that we can think clear. Hydration is very important. Another thing is meditation and well-being practices, right? Are you taking that time to go inward and to maybe discharge some of that extra energy that you've been taking in? Are you giving yourself the space of baths, bubble baths? Are you giving yourself the space of journaling, of discharging, of letting out, right? So those are the daily things that we can practice through embodiment to stay in energetic awareness. Do we have any questions so far, Cindy?
I'm not seeing questions yet, but I do want to request that. Is there a way that you can bring your camera down so we can? Because right now, where it's far back there, that's better. No, too far. Oh, good. Perfect.
Okay. Were you just seeing my forehead, or?
Oh no. Part of the name that was going was kind of doing it. Now we see all of your beautiful face, and so. Especially since you were just talking about embodiment, we want to see all of your beautiful face as you're talking.
Thank you. So we're going to be moving from the G center into the spleen. And it's really an interesting time, actually, because in Chinese medicine, late summer is all about spleen energy and worry. So I found it so in alignment. That's probably why I was so fascinated that the human design aspect lines up with the Chinese medicine aspect, right? Of the late summer and into the spleen. So as many of you guys know who probably practice human design or have studied human design, I'm not going to go too in depth. But I just want to explain to the viewers what the spleen is. And the spleen is this center right here. It is the center of intuition, of health, of survival, and of time. Now, I have the spleen defined. So I'm 100% today using my spleen energy in timing this, because I didn't practice this out. It's totally in the moment, using my survival and using my time. So we'll see how this works. So when we have defined spleen, you'll see that it's colored in like this. If you get your human design chart, you'll see that you have all these centers. And if this center here, if the spleen center here is colored in, then we call it defined. And when you have a defined spleen center, you have consistent energy to your immune system. It's not that your immune system is stronger than if it's undefined. It's just that you have more consistent energy to it. You also have a consistent source of intuition. You have a very strong sense of intuition, and it's always there. You always have access to that intuition. And as I said, with a defined spleen, we seem to have a good sense of time. I seem to be able to finish things at exactly the right time, or I'm able to get to work at exactly the right time. And interesting enough, the right time may not be on time, but it's at the right time that I need to be there. And so I've become very mindful for that. I no longer stress so much because I feel that there may be a reason for why I'm early or late. When we have an undefined spleen, we're more attuned to the health of ourselves and others because we don't have that steady pulse of healthy immune system. We can start feeling into when we have that scratch, that tickle in our throat, or when we're starting to feel a little bit of burnt out. And the interesting thing as well, when you have an undefined spleen, you can actually feel this in others. So you could actually work, if you'd like to, as a medical intuitive, because you can feel other people's health attributes. Another interesting thing about the undefined spleen is that when it's undefined, you may have a habit of holding on to things longer than it's healthy because it feels good, right? It makes you feel good. And so you want to hold on to that. Time, may be an issue because they don't have that consistent sense of timing. They may, have variability on whether or not they're early or late. And we need to start maybe giving space and understanding this aspect of people. We've become so logical that 9 o'clock is 9 o'clock. And I understand that for most of the time, but there's a lot of time where, 9 o'clock, nothing actually happens until 9:05. And so when we're constantly angry at people who aren't always on time, maybe we can give them space and understand, time is, a construct and it's not necessarily equal to everybody. And the last thing I want to say was the source of intuition that we have comes in very different ways. Your intuition can come in many different other senses, and it comes in pulses. It can be very strong and then maybe not so strong, but you have a very different way of how you experience intuition. So September 27th, the week after September 21st, we go into the spleen center, and we're going to spend the next 6 weeks actually in the spleen center. So we're going to start with the gate that Karen calls realignment. Originally, it was called the gate of correction. And I think it's a perfect place to start. When we're looking at embodiment and who we are, we start in alignment. We start in discovering new habits that align us with our goals, that bring us closer to joy. What do we want in life? And how can our daily habits bring us closer to those goals? A great way to embody this is through morning or evening meditations, right? That make you either plan out your day or look at your day and see where is it that, I could use a correction. Where can I be realigned in my daily activities to bring me closer to my goal? When we look at realignment, we're also letting go of our stories of perfection. We tend to want everything to be perfect. And so that stops us from starting. We have the fear that nothing will be perfect. And really, if you think about it, what is perfect? Perfect is just, I don't know if there's anything that really is perfect. And if anything was really perfect, it would kind of be boring, because once you get to perfect, what is there? There's no room for growth. So we're always aspiring to something up-leveled, something evolved, something transformed, but not perfection. And so we can't let perfection paralyze us from reaching our goals or from even starting. Now, the one more thing I'm going to say about this channel is that this is a projected channel. I hope I'm correct. But you have to wait for proper timing in order to give correction if you're going to give to someone else. You have to wait until you're actually asked or recognized before you can give out your corrections or give out your alignments or give out your opinions. Otherwise, it won't be taken and it won't be received properly. And then you'll end up with two people that are not really in alignment with each other, not really feeling each other, because one spoke out too soon and one didn't ask, one didn't want to know. So this is realigning to what goals and what daily habits that we can use to bring us closer to who we are authentically and who we want to be and what we want to do. So the next week after that, I'm just checking my time here, I'm good, is in the gate 48, which Karen now calls wisdom, and before was known as depth. And this is the gate, this is the fear of that we don't know enough. And we have to trust that I know enough and will get what I need when I need it. So, I have this gate, and so I can speak freely about it, because I'm going to give an example, for instance, of marathon running, half marathon running. I was one of those people that had read like 3 or 4 books on marathon running. And then I watched YouTube for other people who ran half marathons and their take on it. And then I had to get information on the right shoes, and then the right compression socks. And then I read 3 books on the diet of marathon runners. So it was this, I didn't trust that I knew enough. I felt like I had to really understand and really know what I was doing before I took action. So there was a fear that I didn't know enough. And so the beauty of it, however, is that these people have a lot of wisdom who have this fear gate. But they have to trust that they have what they need for that next step. That's all they need to take, is that next step. And then what they need will come to them. If they're open and ready to receive, that next step will show up in their environment. And they'll always be that next step. So we don't always have to back end prepare so much to fill our enoughness. So this is being able to start a new habit where we are without waiting until we've become experts. Okay, I think that's it for that one. So the next gate we're going to talk about is on October 8th. And so this is the gate of instinct, and it used to be called the gate of intuition. And this gate is probably actually the most intuitive gate in the whole human design system. So this talks about trusting your intuitions, whether your new habits are good for you or not. This is like the fear of the future, you know, the fear of the unknown. And you know, sometimes when we have that fear of the unknown, we create self-sabotage, or we create circumstances in our lives that derail us from actually changing, from actually reaching our potential, because we have a fear of that. We have the fear of the unknown and the fear of the future. So leaning into this gate, leaning into your embodiment, you know, using techniques such as meditation or breathing, or taking a moment and tuning in to your body, feeling that fear and using that fear instead of holding you back, using that fear to actually build into expectation, into anticipation, and moving forward into something new. It's a very penetrating intuition of clarity. And so you need to learn how to trust yourself, trust your gut instincts, as opposed to always trusting what's logical, always what your mind is telling you, trusting in that gut instinct and pushing through the fear anyway. So we also discuss what do you need to support yourself, to support your body in order to reach your dreams and to reach your goals. So this is another way we can use our instinct and our intuition. Okay. As you can see, we're not really going in order of the gates, but we're going in order of the solar transits. So the next week, October 14th, is called Endurance. And the old name was called Continuity. And so I find it interesting that we're, say, halfway through our challenge and we're looking at endurance, right? This is generally when we kind of start burning out, when we start a new challenge. This is where we need to learn to be patient, to maintain that habit, that daily habit throughout, potentially your life, and knowing that this is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. We're not sprinting to the finish, right? These are habits that we're gaining, and experience that we're gaining to help support our bodies throughout our lives that hopefully we can hold and maintain. So it's having to be prepared and ready to influence timing. We can't control timing, but we can influence it by being ready. So I'm going to go back to the marathon. Say you want to run a marathon. Well, obviously, you're not just going to go out and sprint it, right? You have to prepare for it. You have to train for it. You have to get ready for it. You have to plan for it. So you're going to take small actions every week to build you up until you can get to that marathon distance. You're not just going to go out and go hard, because you're going to burn out. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to fail. And failure is fine, because failure is a stepping stone to success. But if we don't have to constantly go down the failure path, if we can prepare for it, better attune ourselves to what we want, then we don't have to drop down to failure. We can be consistent in our actions. So it's being prepared and ready to influence timing. So it's setting the stage, be a patient, align to your dream, and align to your habits daily, every day. And it's like the tipping point of consistency. Any questions so far, Cindy? I'm hoping that I'm not going too fast.
We did have a couple questions that came in.
Okay.
Linda asks, what if your gate 57 is red and not black?
Okay, so if your gate 57 is red and not black, it means that it is in your design. It's your life, it's your body. So I'm only showing one color, and I apologize for that, But generally, when we're looking at charts, we can either have it black, we can have it red, we can have it red or black, a red and black, or we can have it white. We always have the energy. We have all the gates. We have all the chart. When it's black, I like to think of it as it's your, it's in your soul purpose. It's your personality, right? But when it's in the red, I like to think of it as your life purpose, or going through your body. So you still have access to it, absolutely. It's just comes through you just a little bit different. And you're just going to experience this more, I like to think, day to day, that feeling of, your instinct and your intuition. And so use it in your day to day and feel it in your body. Does that make sense?
Okay. I think it makes sense. I was seeing it. Sarah, how about one more question? I want to make sure that we give enough time for you to get through all your material.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah says, what does it mean if one is defined in almost all the gates that you've mentioned so far?
So then you're just like me. And this is my take on it. I'm not sure what everybody else's take on it, but this is my take on it. If you have a lot of those gates defined, and if it may be a strong component in your life. And so for me, I understand that I think I have 5 of the 7 gates, or 4 of the 7 gates defined. And so I know that my intuition plays a big role in my life. And fear really does play a big role in my life. And, looking back, as a mature woman, I can look back and I can see how I allowed fear to stop me. I allowed fear to play small. And now that I have that awareness, now that I understand my design, I can push into those fears instead. I like to push into my triggers instead of running away from them. And when we're pushing into our triggers, for you, it's, your spleen, so your fears, your intuition. When you're pushing into those fears, this is where you get to grow. This is where you get to reach higher levels of potential. This is where you're able to use that energy. When we're in fear, when we have that adrenaline rush in our body, and you can choose whether you use that rush to paralyze you or to push you forward. And know that when you have this energy in your body, it has to go somewhere. And if you don't use it properly, it's going to burn you out. If you're not energetically aligned and have sufficient energy, anything that you're doing in survival mode is going to burn you out. So having that awareness is so beneficial to the way that you act day to day. That awareness of knowing that this is a fear. This is why my body's feeling this way. I can choose how I respond, and I can choose whether I want to react to this situation. And if I have enough energy to react to the situation, or if I can find a creative way to deal with this situation. And is this reaction of the situation going to burn me out? Or is it going to propel me to reach higher levels, right? So it's up to you. And we start with awareness. And we start with accepting this is who I am. And these are my strengths. And these are my perceived weaknesses. I hope that wasn't too...
Well, that was an excellent explanation.
Thank you.
So thank you for that, and let's go on. I'm waiting for the next one.
Thank you, Cindy. Just gonna check the time here. Okay, I'm doing good. Okay. So my slide doesn't show where the next one is. Unfortunately, I really apologize. I thought I checked these out. But the next week, October 19th, we're in the gate 50. And I'm going to show you, it does say here, but actually this is the gate 50 here. Okay. So this is where you should either have black, red, or checkered. And even if it's white, it doesn't mean that you don't have that energy. It just means you get to experience it in a variable way. You get, and that's the joy, I have to say, of our open chart, the openness of our gates. A little bit of a tangent is that we get to experience it in so many different ways. And so when we're aware of that and understanding that you're experiencing, for instance, nurturing in a multiple different ways, not only just one way, how exciting is that? So October 19th, we are in the gate 50, the gate of nurture, and it used to be called the gate of values. And this is where we learn how to take care of ourselves first without guilt, so we can give more when our cup is full. I recently asked a question on Instagram, and I asked, what does abundance mean to you? And a very beautiful soul answered, when my cup overflows. And that is where we can best, support ourselves and give freely. When our cup is full or overflowing, this is where we can give back. But it has to start with ourselves first. We have to take care of ourselves. There's this old saying, well, I guess not old, but when you're in an airplane, you have to put the oxygen mask on your face first before you put it on your child. Now, that sounds like, as a mother, oh my gosh, right? Like, I gotta take care of my babies. But how helpful are you going to be when you get knocked out because you got no air and you only got, air on one or two of your babies, right? So you have to take care of yourself first in order to give back. And this is the mama bear energy. And so, mothers, and parents, fathers, everybody, we tend to feel guilty when we're taking care of ourselves first. And we really need to move around from that. We really need to restructure our thought patterns about taking care of ourselves first and not burning ourselves out in order to please everyone else and think of ourselves last. When you have this gate colored in, you have that intuitive knowledge of what other people need. And so when we're unaligned with who we are, when we're trying to prove our value, we tend to overgive. And it's an expression of love, right? This is an expression of love, giving, right? So if you're unaligned with who you are and how valuable you are, you may tend to overgive or take care of other people first. And, doing so, devaluing yourself that much more because you're dimming your light. So I'm going to take this back to daily habits. And this is where we need to step up in the self-care realm. And self-care, bubble baths and pedicures are absolutely wonderful. They really do serve a purpose. But I'm saying that sometimes we need to go a little bit deeper in our self-care. And our self-care is looking at who we truly are and where it is that we can love ourselves, invest in ourselves, take care of ourselves more, so we can go into those places that need more healing, and we can heal and then give back because that is another part of being nurturing, right? Is nurturing yourselves and the ripple effect that comes out through that. We have to understand also, what are your non-negotiables, right? What do you need? What is your baseline that you need to do to feel good about yourself so you can give back? And what can you tolerate? And then we're going to talk about values as well, because with the nurturing gate, it talks about how we can love other people that do not share the same values as you. So I don't want to talk about all the controversy that's going around. I'm sure we all can think of a story where you may not share the values of someone else. But, you know, as I always say, I teach my son, you don't have to like them, but you have to love them. You don't have to like what they're saying and doing, but you still can hold space for them, right? So even if they have, you know, different political views or different controversial views, they're still a person and they still deserve love. So it's tolerating other people's values, not putting that block up, and loving them with it as well. Now, this is my take on it. We're gonna all look at these, you know, gates and get our own takes of them as well. So this is just my take of values and nurturing. Okay, so now we're in the gate 28. And so traditionally, this was, oh, I said have adventure and challenge. So I can't remember what the traditional name of this one is, but it's adventure challenge. And so this is creating daily habits that are fun and add more adventure into our lives. So I don't have this gate, but I get to experience it in a various different ways. And so for me, I love adventures. I love pushing myself. I love challenges. So for me, I really enjoy Spartan races and Tough Mudders and CrossFitting and mountain hiking and finding that adventure and that challenge to not only embody, because I enjoy doing it, but I love to inspire other people through it. And so the other part of this channel, this gate, is that learning from the past challenges and growing from those experiences. So sometimes, you know, life can be hard and we have challenges, but we can decide whether or not we want to use those challenges to help us grow or to keep us and playing small and holding us back. So I think I said earlier how knowing my design and understanding the spleen center, I tend to lean into my challenges. I tend to lean into my triggers. And I can do this in a space now where I enjoy leaning into them because I know that these are places where we get to grow. And when we lean into these challenges, it opens up so much more. It also gives us that feeling of success, right? That we've conquered that challenge. And it's a little pat on the back, right? It feeds our self-worth. So it's about learning from those challenges and from our past and not letting them stop us. Using them as a launch pad into something more exciting and creative and joyful. Okay, so now, just checking the time again. Okay, we're doing good. Okay, so October 31st, Halloween. This gate used to be traditionally called energy, and now Karen calls it the gate of the truth. And this gate is all about moving forward and trusting that not giving up will help you align with your authentic self. So it's moving forward instead of being scared of the past. And seeing patterns, seeing the patterns that we've had in our lives, assessing them, being aware of them, and finding the beauty in our pain. And that may sound a little hard, but I think in all our painful experiences, we can see that there was some sort of growth, or there was something that came out of it that either, that was either beautiful or has the potential to be beautiful. So it's seeing the patterns that we've lived through and the patterns of our lives, and not using those patterns as excuses not to continue. I'm going to use the diet, for instance. We're caught up in this whole society of always trying, losing weight, and there's a billion different diets out there. And as women, we tend to have been on a lot of diets. I speak from my own personal experience. I've been on everything from keto to Weight Watchers to Whole30, the paleo to vegan to vegetarian. And, you start and you stop, right? You start and you stop, and you develop that pattern. Well, why should I start? Why should I bother? Every time I do it, it doesn't work. Every time I do it, I give up. So why start now? But this is where we can use that potential to say, okay, this is the pattern that I had. I can choose whether I'm going to repeat that pattern or whether I'm going to evaluate where I learned from that pattern, what pieces I can take from those patterns and use them to move forward. So that's the beautiful part of that gate 44. So not using your broken habits and your broken systems that you've tried before that didn't work as a reason not to try again. I'm going to use one more food analogy for the gate 44. The gate 44 is also about the sense of smell. And I have this gate. And it didn't serve me very well when I worked in a long-term care facility, if you can catch my meaning. But with this gate, I can smell my food and intuitively know if this food is good for me. I can smell chicken and know if it's bad. We can also use this in situations and people as well. There's that saying, so used so often, you can smell a rat, right? So you can smell if somebody is good for you or not. So it's that sense, that intuition, that survival in our spleen. So we get to rewrite our story. Are we going to be stuck in the patterns of the past? Are we going to use those to move forward? Okay. And now we started in the embodiment, in the heart, in the G center, the gate 46. We went through all the gates, all the fear gates of the spleen, all the places that have been holding us back. And in those 6 weeks, we've used the contemplation of learning what has held us back, what has made us play small, where have we allowed fear to stop us in our daily habits and in our lives, in our day-to-day intentional living lives. And we use this to realign with who we are, with a new sense of I am. They say that 21 days and you create a new habit. You create new pathways, neural pathways in your brain. So if you can think, in 6 weeks of starting small, even with one daily habit that can give you that space to grow, where you will be in 6 weeks with a new sense of your authentic self. And so this is honoring our authentic self, our authentic self-expression, while staying in that higher frequency through intentional living. So practice every day. What am I eating? How am I moving my body? What goals have I set for myself? Where have I nurtured myself and taken care of myself? Where have I been playing small? Is my life filled with joy? Where can I find more joy in my life? Do I have challenges? How can I, lean into my challenges or experience adventures in my life? All these things that we can, look through. And then November 5th, in the gate of purpose, in the gate of I am, align ourselves to a new sense of who we are. Ooh, so good. Okay, so Cindy, is there any more questions before I go into my program?
We did have a couple more questions.
Okay.
Trisha asks, question for the end. I have a defined spleen, yet I sometimes pick up on other people's illnesses, most often head colds, mental health, and negativity, which cause me to feel physically ill. Does medical intuition show up elsewhere in the chart? I have an open crown ajna. I also have the defined 57. I mean, I can feel their cold coming on before they show signs.
Yes. So there's many different ways that we can intuitively, empathically feel other people. So you nailed it on the head. Open crown, open ajna. Definitely you're taking in other people's thoughts and other people's energies. We're constantly in this energetic dance. We're always either taking in energy and information, or we're projecting it out, we're broadcasting it out. So anywhere in the chart where you have it open, you have that potential of taking in other people's energies. And so it's with the awareness of knowing that this isn't mine, this is someone else's. And knowing how to disperse that energy, how to move that energy away through daily practices, and knowing what is mine, right? So I feel somebody has a head cold, but I feel it in my body, but that's not mine. But a lot of people will take that in and they'll feel the symptoms of a head cold and they think it's theirs. And I'm going a little woo here, but potentially they can actually start giving themselves the symptoms because they're feeling it from someone else. And so anywhere in the chart, whether you have an open crown, you're taking in inspiration, right? Whether you have an open G center, you're taking in other people's experience of love. If you have the open center here, right? The emotional solar plexus, you're taking in other people's emotions. If you have the open root, you're taking other people's pressures of to do, their stress. So anywhere where you have openness in the chart has a potential of being empathetic there and taking it. I hope that makes sense.
Well, that made sense. And it was interesting. She already seemed to be doing what you said. She has an awareness that it's not hers, that she can, but that was very, yay, Trisha. And here I think is a segue question for you. If we have an undefined spleen, would these classes apply to me? And this is from Karen.
Hi,
so it's
Karen.
kind of a segue into what's coming up next, right?
Yes. So thank you for that. I love how beautifully it worked. We have a program that's starting next Sunday in the gate on the September 27th. And this is open to everybody because whether you have an open spleen or defined spleen, you still have access to that energy. You still have all those gates. You still have the fear of all those gates. You just have a variable way of expressing them. So they're going to show up in different ways. So I use examples for myself, diet and marathon running, right? Those are my ways that I experience them. But you may experience them in so many other different ways. So during the 6 weeks, I'm super excited. I don't know where my picture is, but we have a great group of women that are working together. And so the program's called Embodiment to Purpose. And it's 6 weeks empowerment coaching to release fear and align to your true authentic self. And so here's me. I'm an energetic alignment mentor. And so I use human design to help you find your alignment and help you live out your authentic self, who you are. We have Eileen here, who is a human design specialist as well from Finland. I'm so excited. This is international. We have Angie Lee Jones here, who is an empowerment coach. And she's actually going to be leading us through an embodiment flow dance. So when I was talking about how you have that energy when you feel fear, you feel anxious, we use movements to move it out of our body. We use movement and breath. So I'm super excited that she's going to be coaching us on movement and breath. We have Stephanie here, and she's from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, like me. We have Stephanie, and she is an acupuncturist, and she teaches Qigong from New York. And so she'll be leading us through some Chinese medicine about the spleen and some Qigong. And then we have Anya from California, and she's going to be leading us through body talk. And so the body wisdom that we have, we're able to tap into. And so she can directly speak with your body and your subconscious. And she'll be teaching us some stress relief protocols through cortices tapping. So every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we will be having a 1-hour session with each of the ladies, and they're going to be everybody's going to be teaching something different, but it all has to do with energy and empowerment and using human design. So every Sunday evening, we'll have a different focus. Like I said, Qigong with Stephanie, September 27th. Body talk, where she'll be leading us through tapping our cortices and doing a group body talk session with all of us on October 4th. October 11th, I will be discussing something called deliberate creation, which Karen talked about earlier, and I just felt it just like sang to my heart, and I blew it up. So I'm so excited to share it. October 18th, we have Eileen from Finland. She's actually going to have a recording of herself with coaching, because unfortunately 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time is 3 a.m. her time. So it wasn't fair to ask her to share at 3 a.m. But she is going to be sending weekly, every 6 days during the transit, she's going to be sending absolutely empowering emails and journaling questions to help with the contemplation. October 25th, it says empowerment coaching, but Angeli Jones is actually going to be moving us and moving our bodies through dance and breath on how to move the energy throughout our bodies. I'm so excited for that. And then on November 1st, I'm going to close up with a full moon ceremony. I do have a shamanism background, and I do use this regularly in my practices. I follow the moon, I follow the cycles of the planet, and so we'll be closing out with a full moon ceremony. One more thing I wanted to say about this program is that you get a one-on-one coaching session with me, and we'll be going through your human design charts and discussing what it is that you need coaching with, or you want to explore in your body. So we'll be going through your aura type. We'll be going through the energy centers in your body and how you're taking in and how you're broadcasting your energy. So I'm really excited about this program, and I'm so thankful to Karen and Cindy and to everybody for having this platform for us to share. 1
Okay.
o'clock. Boom.
Boom. We do have a, first I want to, where can they go if they want to find out more information?
So, yes, I think that you should have a link to share. I sent to Betsy, and I think Betsy sent to you. I do have it down here, but I believe that you do have a link as well.
And I have a question for you.
Yes.
That came up. It says, from Sarah, are the effects of the gates stronger when the earth or sun is transiting through them?
Yes. So I don't want to get too technical in this, so just give me a moment to pull back. So yes, when it is transiting in the sun, we're being fed through that gate. We're being fed through that energy. And so so we have a choice. We always have a choice. We can allow that energy to negatively affect us, or we can use that energy to propel us into healing. And that's why I have this program, is because I wanted to use the gates of the spleen and lean into them and use them for healing, as opposed to using them as an excuse. So for instance, if say sun, when the sun is in the gate 48, and we're not feeling enough, we have that awareness to understand that this is, affecting us, and we can choose. Do I lean into that? Do I explore why I don't feel enough? And do I take those steps anyway, knowing, trusting, having courage to take that step, and being open to responding to outside sources through synchronicities and coincidences to see where that next step will take us.
And she follows on that with the dates you shared correspond with what in terms of the gates when the earth is transiting?
Yes. So I used Karen's, and I'm going to stop sharing here. So, okay. So I used Karen's Human Design Evolution Guide. And like I said, I just found it so powerful that all these aspects of my life lined up. And I really wanted to use it as a coaching program to lean into these gates in the next 6 weeks, so that we can align more authentically to gate 1 and the gate of our self-expression.
So it's not when the earth is transiting, just to be clear. No, the book is when the sun is transiting through those gates.
Yes, these are the sun transits.
And Sarah says, thank you very much. And we all want it. There's some very nice comments for you over on Facebook too. But thank you very much for sharing. You did it was a lot of wonderful information, and it looks like a great program.
Thank you Tammy. So much. Thank you so much, Cindy. I really appreciate this, and I hope to see some of you guys in my program. Or just check me out, Tammy Mack. What is it? Linktree Tammy Mack. You'll find me on Instagram, Tammy Mack 27. Find me there, and I'd love to answer any questions that you guys have.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.